Welcome, everyone. This is Imagine All the People podcast, where we learn to appreciate our experiences and cherish the bond we have as human beings. I'm your host, Daniel, and today I had the opportunity to talk to Neil, who is a father who lost his child at 28 weeks.
Um, so, I'm Neil Larson from Newcastle, England. Apologies now for the accent. It's difficult for Brits to understand, so any Americans, it's going to be even harder. So, apologies. Um, well, my job at the moment, I am an accounts payroll technician, basically just looking after people's accounts and payroll. I'm also a casino dealer, which I do part time just for a bit of fun. Um, and generally, so reason for this podcast is I lost my child at 28 weeks. And that's what we'll be discussing today.
Wow, I'm really sorry to hear that. Can you tell me a little bit more about the story of losing your child and sort of just go through the events that occurred?
Yeah, well, it was, start at the beginning, typical story, boy meets girl, get together after a few years, you move in, you get married, start to plan a family. That's the next step. So me and my wife at the time, we tried for approximately 4 years, lots of doctor's visits, tests, things like that. Nothing was happening. So we decided, I will just, we'll give up. We'll try again in a few years. Let's just enjoy life now.
Mm.
But as life does, it threw a spanner in the works. And, in June that year, you know, my wife, at the time was, she says, something's not right. Things haven't started as they normally would every month. And things just don't seem to be right. And she was about to book a doctor's appointment. And she came in saying, "Oh, I don't need to go. I know why now. You're going to be a dad."
Mm.
Obviously, elated. Everything was great. It was like, right, brilliant. We're about to start this. We've planned this for years. I was over the moon.
Now, how did that feel? Just understanding that you were going to be a dad after years of trying.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll use a Geordie word here, but it's the term is buzzing. Just ecstatic. Just finally going to have that child. I mean, yeah, nervous as well. Like I'm going to be a dad. Okay, it's a big moment in your life. The first time you're going to have a child, and yeah, I was scared, I was petrified, but just the excitement overtook that straight away. It was like, brilliant. Let's just kind of move on now. Let's get things rolling with the doctors. Let's see the scans and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Um, went for the first scan. Um, I'm mad enough to admit, yeah, man, I cried my eyes out. First time I saw her, she was just this little. She was way too small. So, if you saw the first scan, she was really, really small. You could just see this tiny little thing, but you could see she was there. So we went back 4 weeks later, and she was a million times bigger. She was huge. You could see her probably real definition. But at 20 weeks, something was different on that one. Um, we had a different doctor. Did a full scan, and they were very quiet. Um, we tried to ask questions, but they kind of hushed us a bit. Like, be quiet. We'd need to look at certain things here. So something kind of pricked up a bit immediately. And, we got to the end. She says, the doctor says, right, we found a little anomaly. It's going to be at that point we found out it was going to be a girl as well. But she says, it is an anomaly that we found out. We're not quite sure what it is. But don't worry, we see things like this all the time. I'm sure it'll be fine. But you need to go to a specialist to see another doctor next week. So, we left the scanning room place a bit, understandably nervous. But, happy, great, we're going to have a girl. You know, don't worry about it. It's probably just a cyst, was the words we were getting. We'll be fine. Everything will be fine. So we went for the next one, specialist hospital in Newcastle. Sat down. said to turn up for 3 p.m. So we turned up. They kind of checked everything, sent us in the room, and they said, right, she has what's called an umbilical vein varix. And in layman's terms, basically, there's the umbilical cord will have 2 arteries and 1 vein. And the vein in the middle was enlarged at a certain point, and it just kind of causes a bit restrictions, and it can make the blood flow a little bit different. She might go a bit smaller, but the survival rate of this is 100%. Don't worry. We'll just do some more checks. You'll get a few more scans, but come back to us in 4 weeks. We'll double check it. Everything will be fine. Don't worry about this. So we goes home, does more checks. At this point, we're on scans every 4 weeks with the other place as well, with the other one. So 2 weeks later, we go back for another scan. And everything's the same. They check the anomaly. It's 10 millimeters in size from end to end. Everything's fine. So yep, don't worry. There's nothing changed. She's growing well. There's nothing else. Everything looks really good. Go back to the specialist hospital. They do more checks. But yeah, they did another scan. They said, yep, look, we're happy with this. Nothing's changed. Everything's fine. We're dismissing you. We don't need to see you anymore. Just stick with the original appointment. Brilliant. So go for the next appointment. Next, scan again at the old place. And we were told again, don't worry. Yep, everything looks fine. But at that point, I noticed something. They checked the measurements, and the varix was actually 14 millimeters in length instead of 10. And I thought at the time that seemed a bit strange, and nothing was mentioned. But they said not to worry. You trust doctors, everything's fine. And that was 27 weeks, that scan. And so a week later, it was a Thursday morning. I'll never forget this. One day I went to work. My wife stayed at home. She had a midwife appointment just to get everything checked out. And at approximately 11:45, I got an email. You need to come pick me up from the doctors. Something's not right. We need to get Lexi checked. She drives down, and my wife's inside. I go inside. She comes out. She's looking a bit upset, but she's okay. She's the midwife can't find a heartbeat. But that's normal. She's, they said it's okay. She might just be hiding. We just need to get a proper Doppler check done and things like that. So we drive to the hospital. It's not too far. We drive down, and we're talking about it. I says, I'm sure this happened with me. She's just being awkward. She'll just be lying in a funny place. I just can't pick it up by Doppler. She'll be fine. It won't be a problem. I was convinced. I even, phoned my mum saying, look, this is what's gone on. We can't find a heartbeat, but she's probably just hiding. And my mum even confirmed, look, you were like that. So she'll be fine. You'll go in there, you'll see her jumping about on the radar thing, and she'll be fine. So goes, drops her off at the doors. I go park the car, had a cigarette. And, that was it. That's when my life changed forever. I walked onto the ward where, I was told I had to go. And all I could hear was a scream. And it was a scream. I've never heard anything like this before. It was, terrified, sadness. It was everything negative that you could think of. This one scream, and I knew the voice. It was my wife's voice screaming, and I knew then that's it. She's gone. I knew there was no. I knew she'd died. So I walks to the first reception desk, saying, where's my wife? She's just been checked in. Checked for the name, couldn't find her on the list. Just go to the other reception desk down there. So walks down to the bottom. Ask for her name. No, she's not here. She hasn't been checked in here. Go back to the main desk. So back to the original desk. And this nurse comes out. She says, "Are you Neil?" I says, "Yes." Says, "I've got some sad news for you." I went, "I know. I'm not an idiot. Take me to my wife. I know what's gone on." At that point, thankfully, went in. My wife's lying on the bed, crying her eyes out. She confirmed she's gone. Thankfully, my sister somehow was there. I don't yet know how this happened. She was there for her stepson's appointment. He was expecting a child as well around the same time. And she was then, she seen Rachel go in and, she went with her and she was sat with her and, we all hugged it out. And, she left us alone for a bit. And, I can't thank her enough for being there. She was amazing. And, we discussed everything that was going on, same thing, what's happened, how this has happened. We couldn't figure it out. The doctor came in, did another scan, confirmed it, said, "Yeah, look, there's no heartbeat. She's definitely gone now. We now need to discuss what's happening next." And then you have to go home for 2 days and then come back and deliver the baby naturally. So we sit down, trying to get this all sorted, phoning the parents. I phoned my mum, and I'll never forget that phone call. She, she says, "How's everything going?" She was so bubbly, and I just said, "Mum, she's gone." And she couldn't comprehend it. She says, what do you mean she's gone?" It's like Lexi's dead. She's gone. And she was out at the time. She says, "Right, okay, I'll see you as soon as I can. I've got to get home. I'm coming down to see you." And I could hear she was basically breaking her heart. As she hung up, she didn't want to hear her crying. She knew she needed to be strong. But you could just tell in her voice she was breaking her heart. She hung up, and it was kind of, we just sat around. We sat down, had a few cups of tea in the hospital, which was great, and just kind of discussing, what's next. Eventually left. I bought more cigarettes, obviously. Bought my wife some cigarettes at the time. She had stopped smoking, but yeah, she was, she couldn't drink, so she wanted a cigarette. We got home, kind of discussed what was happening next. We knew we need to get all the things ready. I just ordered some baby bottles to be delivered at our local chemist. So I get that cancelled. I get them refunded. What I kind of prepare, Rachel's just starting to give birth. So we had to get all of our, stuff that lasses need when they give birth. So, next day we had to go down to Boots, we call our local chemist here. Trying to return the baby bottles without breaking into tears was just ridiculously hard. We got all our stuff that we needed, and I was checked in the hospital. Checked in Saturday. It was the 17th of December. Checked in. We spoke to the midwife, bereavement midwife, saying, this is what's going on. We had a room to ourselves. I had a bed to lie in. They fed us both, which was great. Rachel had her bed, I had mine. But we were sat on an actual birthing suite. So all through the day, you would hear people coming in, screaming, hear a baby crying, then they would leave. That was all day, and all night. Eventually, it was, after time and time again. So because Rachel obviously wasn't ready to give birth, they had to go through a full process. So every 4 hours, they would have to get a tablet and push it into her cervix. And I was every 4 hours through the day, through the night, they'd come in, wake me up in the middle of the night, tablet up there again. And it was, must have been horrible, for her to go through that as well. It's, even though, no matter which way you look at it, that must have been horrendous pain. See if anything happens, still nothing moving. So Monday, again, same thing, tablet every 4 hours. And it was the Tuesday morning, about 2 a.m., things started to progress. She started feeling labour pains. She started, getting contractions. Um, she, her water kind of broke at about 5 a.m. that morning. But it wasn't, from what I assume, it wasn't normal. This was full of blood. It was really pink in colour. It wasn't kind of, I imagine it being clear, but this was really bloody that was in there. That was, like I say, 5 a.m. We were told you can have as many drugs as you want. Take all the drugs we can give you. Um, well, so they called the doctor in, said, look, water's broke. We need, can we get some drugs to make this easier? Said, yeah, no problem. Press the call button. And we're going to get the drugs. They were coming back. They says, we haven't got time for this. Nope, the baby's coming. That was it. Um, about 5:18, Lexi came out, arse first. Um, she wasn't in the right position. So her little butt came out first, followed by everything else. And yeah, we got to spend the day with her, take a few photos, and her family got to come in, meet her, hold her. She got registered. So again, I don't know how it is in the US, but in the UK, you got to get like birth certificates, death certificates, stuff like that. Lexia got a what's called a stillbirth certificate. Um, so she's still registered as being, born, but she wasn't alive. So she's just getting an actual birth certificate, stillbirth certificate. The person who actually registered her as well actually married me and my wife 4 years prior, which I thought was quite sweet. She was born 20th December, 5:18 a.m., £2, 9 ounces. Absolutely perfect. Perfect little nose. Just everything about her. Just holding her for the first time, and just looking at her, and it's one of those things like, again, I don't know if you got this term in the US, but in the UK, a term of you can hear a pin drop when something's so quiet. So when Lexi was born, I say normally you hear all the birthing process all the way through from everybody else screaming, 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 and this cry, and I was like, yeah. And when Lexi was born, there was nothing. It was pure silence. There was not a thing. There's no crying. There was nothing. You could literally hear a pin drop. And so yeah, I see what I had to deal with her. At the end of the day, she was starting to deteriorate. So we said, look, she needs to go down to the morgue now. We need to preserve her as much as possible. So we got the midwife to take her down. We wanted to spend the night there, just one more night, just to in our own little bubble. On our own world, we don't have to face reality yet. Let's have this one last night. So again, next day we got up, got a lovely little gift from the bereavement officer in there. That was lovely, like this little angel with Lexi on it. And which was amazing. I found out recently she does that now to everybody else. If anybody loses a child, they get a little angel, which I thought was quite sweet. That's kind of something that she started. We had to send her away for a post-mortem. So obviously it was over Christmas as well. So say she was born the 20th of December. So by the time we finally got to have a funeral, it was January the 11th. It was quite a long time. We had to wait to get some closure. On the day of her funeral, we had flowers for her. The funeral was all paid for by the NHS, which was great. Again, it was a big burden taken off of us. We didn't have to worry about it, and everything was all sorted. We even got, we even went to go and see her in the Chapel of Rest. A few last times just to say, goodbye and just kind of see her again. And so when there was one of the funeral directors came in, and they said, we've noticed a bit of a scratch on the nameplate. We need to replace that. I was like, there's no need to replace it. It's fine. We're not paying for this. You don't need to replace it. And they were so determined this needed to be replaced. It has to be perfect. It's for a child. This needs to be done properly. And that was just, it was little things like that which just it touched, just touched your heart a bit. Um, so yeah, the funeral day came. You know, the car took us down. We went to our local crematorium. Um, we decided at that point that on that day, Lexi needed to be carried by somebody, not just by some random stranger. And if anyone was going to do that, it was going to be me. I had to do it. All the way down, I just remember thinking, I can't do this. I cannot physically carry my daughter down. And it's just, you meant to walk your daughter down the aisle on a wedding day, not to a funeral. You should never have to do that.
Mm.
And I always remember my grandmother passed away. I lived with my grandmother most of my life, in big part of my life. And one of her friends came to the funeral that day, and she was stood right where the coffin was for me to go and carry. And as soon as I saw her, that was like having my grandmother there to say, "You've got this, son. You can do it." You know. And I knew we had my mum around me as well, which was, again, I knew there was no way I could fail. I just kind of gave me the thought: your mum's with you, your grand's with you, your auntie's with you. You cannot fail. And that gave me everything I needed. Just seeing that one person gave me everything I needed. Got up, carried a little, coffin down. It was a little baby, it was a baby pink, just beautiful as a coffin could be, I guess. And there's a saying out there which says, and I never understood that until that day, but the saying is the smallest boxes are the heaviest. And that is the heaviest box I've ever had to carry. Just walking down, we had music playing and, taking that down, putting her on the altar thing, um, and taking our seats. It was just, yeah, it was an absolute killer. Funeral ended. We all put roses on our coffin as well, which was, just a little something, just to say goodbye. And then it came to March by the time we finally got the post-mortem results. And they said it was what was called a Wharton's jelly deficiency, which basically meant that the umbilical cord collapsed on itself. Um, there's part of me that doesn't believe that in a weird way. If it was Lexi's stomach when she was born was full of blood. It was really bright red, which makes me think it was some sort of leak rather than something collapsing. But there's nothing we could do to change it. It's like that's what it is. We couldn't prove it one way or another. So that's what we had to go with. And yeah, that's the basic story of it. That's kind of just generally how it went down. That was it.
Mm. Now, when you first held your daughter, what feelings were running through your mind knowing that she wasn't going to live?
It was a mix of emotions. Yeah, it was a big mix. Obviously, like love. It's again the term unconditional love. Nothing would ever replace that. Just holding your baby girl in your arms for the first time. I mean, you'll have seen the photo. It was just unbelievable. I've always had a fear. I've always had a fear of holding kids. I don't know what it is. My niece, bless her, when she was born, I wouldn't hold on. I wouldn't hold on until she was after like 3 year old. I just think it's like, no, baby, don't like it. Don't want to touch it. I'm going to drop it. I'm going to hurt. I'm going to kill the thing. No. With Lexi, it felt natural. It just felt right. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I just, held her. I mean, it just felt, yeah, it just felt right. And then, it's. I would do anything. I would do anything now to hold her again, just for even for a second. I would do anything to hold her again. I think if I go back that day, I would take more photos. I would have held her more. I wouldn't have let her go down. She would have been there with me all day. If I could go back, but it's just the grief, the love, but you know, weirdly happiness as well, just seeing her, seeing what she looked like. It's just undescribable, man. Undescribable.
Now, I know this is going to be a really hard question, but do you blame the doctors at all for giving you a false sense of comfort?
In a way, yes and no. It's. I think that it should have been picked up when it grew. And the thing is, if his had been picked up and known, hang on, this is something not right. She could have given birth and she would have lived. And she would have been fine. It should have been, should have been a premature baby, yes. But babies can live at 27, 28 weeks without a problem. They can do that. But I can sit there and I can blame doctors all day, every day. What's it going to do? It's not going to get me anywhere. It's not going to get them anywhere. It's like I say, it's a part of life. Unfortunately, it's a horrible part of life. In the UK alone, there are 14 stillbirths every day. Every single day, 14 people lose their child, and we were just one of the unlucky ones for whatever reason. You know, the mortality rate in the UK is terrible for kids. Don't know why, but it's something that really needs to be looked into. I mean, only now is it being recognised that, when we lost Lexi, if I was lucky, I just changed jobs. Very recently, just changed jobs, and if I hadn't, the place I worked at would have had me at work the next day after she died, because that company showed no caring for anybody. They didn't care. If somebody dies, all right, you've had the day off, come back to work. And that was a big corporation, worldwide corporation. The company I work for now is a very small company. I got a phone call from my manager saying, I don't want to hear from you until at least next year. Take all the time off that you need. We're going to pay you in full. Don't worry about it. Just take as much time as you need to get yourself sorted out. And we'll see you in the new year. So I'm thankful for that. But I'm not going to blame the doctors. I cannot blame them. I cannot blame the doctors for that.
After this incident, what was your relationship with your wife like? Was it a strained relationship because of this whole incident, or did life just sort of carry on as usual?
It was all right for a while. Yeah, things went okay. We thought we'd try again. We decided to go away a lot. Um, we were very fortunate. I mean, we went away to Benidorm for a week around her original due date. Just we couldn't face being in the UK. We did lots of random nights away as well, just to kind of get away from everything, just to clear our heads. We need to get away for a bit. We were very fortunate to go on a Disney cruise as well in the September, which was lovely. We got to spend a week away. But a year later, things changed drastically. Basically, well, turns out my wife decided she wanted to have an affair for a while, um, without me finding out. Unfortunately for her, I did find out, and we are now separated. Currently going through divorce. She has been fortunate; she now has twins. To the bloke that she cheated on me with, and good on her. Let her carry on. I've got no malice towards my ex-wife. Um, Let her live her life. As long as she's happy, crack on.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear
Um,
that.
oh, trust me. And in some ways, I was gutted at the time. We've been broke up for just over a year now, and I was upset at the time. Now, it was the best for both of us, especially me. I'm living a much better life now, and I'm hoping she is as well. We don't talk anymore. Um, that the relationship has fully broken down. Um, I don't want to talk. I don't want to know anything about her. She doesn't want to know anything about me. But I'm happy with that. She's a very peculiar woman. Let's put it that way. So,
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm much better off. If I was still with my wife, I couldn't do this podcast with you right now. I'll tell you that.
Wow. Now, as a man, how were you treated after this incident? Were people only consoling your wife, or were people also comforting you during this hard time?
As a man, you get nothing. Um, Everything's aimed towards the female. It's always, I would go to I'd go back to work. They go, "Oh, how's your wife doing?" They wouldn't ask how I was doing. I mean, that would just be like my general co-workers. I was very lucky. I got a new boss around that time as well. Somebody I've known for a long time, and his first words were, "How are you doing?" He's one of the few people that actually asked how I was. Um, Same, with doctors, and we did go for therapy. Um, I feel like some sort of like counselling and therapy after this. The great part about that was the actual therapy sessions happened in a room. We had to walk through the scanning area, like where people were getting scans, and that's what sort of the whatever it's called, that kind of scanning area where they get the baby scans. You have to go through there in the back, and that's where you would sit and have a therapy session about losing your child. Um, there's a lot of groups out there, which are for child loss, but obviously it's always towards the women, always towards the women. I found one which was for men. It was a group called Daddies with Angels, and I made some good friends through that. Some really good friends through that, and it was a safe space for men to say, "Look, you know what, lads, I'm not feeling well tonight. Things are affecting me quite badly." It is, you could talk to other men who'd lost children, and it was thankfully for us there was a couple who actually lived in our city, um, who they lost their child a few years before us, and we became really good friends with them. Um, One of the things that we did was, because again we were both part of the charity, we decided to do the what's called the Boxing Day dip, which is where a bunch of idiots like ourselves on Boxing Day, day after Christmas Day, decide to go running into the North Sea first thing in the morning. Um, the North Sea is the word Baltic. It's absolutely freezing, and that's in the summer. In the winter, it's even worse. It's like ice. And they decided, yeah, just to, we'd all just run into there for a charity. It was great, you know. And that's how much Dives with Angels meant with everybody. Unfortunately, they lost their founder last year to cancer. Um, he was a great man, a guy called Paul Sloan, and he was a great man, bless him. And I never got to meet him, and I'm sad about that. But yeah, if any men are struggling, do a Facebook search for Daddies with Angels. That's a safe space where you can vent your feelings and talk to other people who've lost children. It's a really good charity.
Hmm. And now, from your experiences, what sort of lesson would you want the world to understand from a man's perspective about these hard times that you faced?
Understand? Yeah. Yes, the woman carries the baby, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's harder for blokes or hard. It is a bit harder for women, and I'm only saying it a bit harder because obviously they have to do the delivery of the child and they have to carry it for all that time. Us men still bond with that baby. I remember nights when I would be sitting down with your wife and I'd be talking to her, I'd be talking to the baby, be talking to Lexi inside of her stomach, and she would react. You'd actually see like a kicking around when if I was around, or if I accidentally sneezed a bit too loud, she'd jump. Little things like that. We still imagine that future of of having that child. We lose that child as well. We lose that future. We also need to grieve. It's not just the women who need to grieve. We do too. It's always kind of been, I guess, society kind of expects men to be the one that has stood strong and stood strong to protect their partner, stuff like that. We need help as well, just as everybody else. And I mean, the male suicide rate again. it's a big topic at the moment. I don't know if it is in the US, but in the UK, male suicide is very high. It's because there's so much pressure, and men feel like they can't talk to people. You need to, like you just got to swallow that bit of pride and talk to somebody, because otherwise you will get to that point where you'll feel suicidal. You might look at taking your own life. It's not worth it, man. You need to talk. There needs to be more people there for men to talk to, male only groups or whatever. Just something, like even all the documentation we got, like all the letters, the books, all aimed towards females. There was nothing for blokes, nothing at all. And it's like the men didn't matter. Think, oh well, yeah, you're just there. You're just part of the side of it. You're just a little part of it. It's all about her, and that's not fair. I've recently had to just fight to get my daughter's ashes back from our breakup. Thankfully, they're coming home very soon, because everybody thought I should go with a mum. No, I want them. She's got her kids. Why should she get everything? I want my stuff as well. She went just as much to me as she does to her. They need to understand. That's what needs to be understood. Blokes matter as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you sort of touched upon this earlier, but in what ways did your life change after the death of your daughter?
I mean, it's something I'd always live with. I'm not the same person I used to be. I used to be quite a happy. I'm not saying I'm not happy, but I used to be more laid back than what I am now, and I'm still quite laid back, but just not as much. I'm always a bit on edge. I mean, Christmas never feels right anymore. I used to be a big Christmas person. I used to love Christmas. Who doesn't? But you get something happen like that so close to Christmas, it just loses its effect. It's not as magical anymore. Um, a daft little thing is if I find out somebody's pregnant, um, I never say congratulations anymore. I always say good luck, because you never guarantee to take that baby home with you. You hope so. I mean, I've got a colleague at work right now. Bless her, she's pregnant. She's 15 weeks. And, where we work, it's very close. There's only three people in my office, for example. We are very close. And I am over the moon for her, and I sit and think whatever I say, I just think, please, don't, if there is a God out there, don't let her go through what I went through. She doesn't deserve it. It kind of makes you appreciate things more as well. When one of the jobs I do deliveries, on the odd occasion, just to help me more. She's got a cafe, so if the driver's ill or something's not going right, I'll step in and I'll deliver around the local area. The area I live in's a bit rough. To kind of set a bit of a scene. If you looked into our backyard, you would see barbed wire, and on the other side's a bed of nails. That's how rough my area is. And you go to some doors and you knock on the door and you see children there, when you're delivering food to all these people, and somewhere around Lexi's age, which would have been, and all you can smell in the house is marijuana. You think, oh, really? Like, you've got this beautiful gift of these kids and you're smoking dope. Surely, come on, sort your life out for your kids, for God's sake. And, again, like if you hear people screaming at the kids, like, shouting at them, really put them down, it makes you want to step in again, just say, do you know how lucky you are to have those kids with you? Be a bit more respectful, That's kind of the only ways I've ever changed it, sir.
Mm-hmm. And how old is Lexi right now?
Lexi right now. So if she survived and she was born on the day she was actually born on, she'll be 2 years and 3 months coming up now. If she was born on her actual due date, she'll be coming up to 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now, after an incident like this, what do you think would be the best course of action? Should you just live life as usual, or how do you find a balance between living life and also understanding your past?
You can't change your past, but your past does make your future. There's nothing you can really do. I've always kind of believed you can't dwell on the past. Don't get me wrong, you don't forget it. You don't forget the past, you don't forget what happened in the past, but you don't dwell on it. Like I've got, I've got memorial tattoos. I'm quite, tattooed person. I've got a big tattoo on my forearm, which is of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, and that is my tattoo for Lexi. That's hers. We always believed in the whole Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten. And even one of our funeral songs was Aloha Oi, which was sung by somebody in Lilo and Stitch. That was one of our funeral songs. So I've got a reminder of her every single day. Whenever I look down at my arm, there she is. I'll never forget Lexi. She'll be part of the past. You always kind of get that awkward question whenever you meet somebody new. Or if you just talk to somebody in general, somebody new starts the office or whatever. But have you got any kids? That's always a hard one. I would say yes and no. I do have a child, but she's stillborn. And you always kind of get the same result. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I'd always say the same. There's no need to apologize. I like to talk about it, Lexi. I love talking about it. If my coworker now, she told us 3 weeks ago when she was pregnant, she says, look, I'm expecting. And I got a private message saying, I'm so, like, I just wanted to check you okay. As everything, I didn't want to upset you. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to make sure you're okay. We're cool. I was like, yeah, but I said, let me deal with this call I'm on, and I'm going to deal with you. And a misconception is anybody who's lost a child doesn't want to hear about your children, anything like that. And, we don't want to hear when you're pregnant because we lost ours. It's the opposite. We want to hear about these things. Of course we do. Not immediately, don't get me wrong. For the first year or so, yeah, we don't want to hear it. But afterwards, we're happy for you. We want to follow that journey with you as well. Just say that, we want to hope you don't go through the same as we do. If in a million one chance you do, we'll be there to pick you up. But we want you to go through and have a happy pregnancy with a happy, healthy baby. We want to see them. We want to meet them. We want to see everything that you're going through, and we want to buy presents for the bands and stuff like that. It's we're not dead inside when it comes towards kids. We do still. We are still happy to see that you're pregnant. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. And now, where do you see yourself in the future? And what sort of hope do you have after such an incident like this?
In general, in the future, yeah, find somebody new, settle down again. Might not get married so quick this time. Learn some lessons from your last marriage, and yeah, have kids of my own. If not, I'll adopt. There's a lot. I've got a lot of love to give, and hopefully one day I will have a kid of my own that I can come here and follow on my bloodline and just continue from there. Give me mum grandkids that you can actually physically see on a daily basis and have that little family. That's the main hope and goal.
Wow, Neil. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on and talking to me today.
Man, just thanks for having us, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to Imagine All the People podcast. This was Neil, and we hope you join us for the next episode.